Good morning and welcome to Sunday School. Right, bit of a challenge for you first today. I've got a few little pictures that I've drawn and I want to see if you can guess what might be happening in them. Now, I'll give you a clue to start with because you'll soon find out why I teach music and not art. These are all situations that might make us feel a bit sad, that might make us feel that God's not with us. So let's see. Here's the first one. You ready to be dazzled by the artwork? On here, can you see that? What might be happening in that picture? What do you think? Well, it's a person. I hope you guessed that bit. And these dots are supposed to be somebody crying. So it could be a time you feel sad, a time you feel lonely, yeah? A time when it's hard to remember that God's with you. Let's try another one. What about this one? What do you think is happening, or what's not happening here? This is a pound sign. So these are coins and a big cross. Do you know? Times when we don't have enough money. It might be not enough money to do something you wanted to do, like to go on a special school trip, or just not enough money anyway. And it can make us feel a bit sad and worried. Another one. Ready? See if you can guess what this one is. Okay. Somebody down here looking sad. Two people here pointing. I was trying to make them look a bit mean, so I ended up with really big eyebrows. Do you know what that might be? When somebody's laughing at you, making fun of you, or even possibly bullying you. A time when you feel really, really sad. Got one more. Ready? Right, what can you see in this one? We've got a sad person, a house, it is a house, and a sign that says sold. Any ideas? I was trying to draw if either a time when you have to move somewhere or when somebody you know and love has to move somewhere. And it can just make us feel really, that isn't what you wanted to happen. So I think we'd all agree there are times when we feel sad and it feels like God's not with us. But in our Bible reading today, we're going to find out about a young man called Gideon who discovered that God really was with him all the time. Gideon's battle. God's people kept disobeying his rules, so God allowed their enemies to take all their food away. Again, the Israelites turned to God for help, and again, God answered their prayers. God chose a man named Gideon to help his people. God sent an angel to Gideon. "You are a mighty warrior," said the angel. "You will save God's people." Gideon said, "But I'm from a family that isn't rich or important." Then Gideon prayed to God. "I need a sign from you. I'll put some wool on the ground. Tomorrow, if the wool is wet and the ground is dry, I'll believe you." The next morning, the wool was wet and the ground was dry. But Gideon wanted another sign. He said to God, "Now, if the wool is dry and the ground is wet, I'll be sure you've chosen me." The next morning, God made the wool dry and the ground wet. Now Gideon was sure. He said, "God, I will do whatever you say." Over 30,000 men wanted to join Gideon's army. "That's too many," God said. He showed Gideon how to win with only 300 men. The plan sounded strange, but Gideon trusted God. During the night, Gideon and his men surrounded the enemy camp. They blew trumpets and smashed clay jars. They waved burning torches in the air. Their enemies were frightened. This must be a huge army, they thought. So they ran away. God's people had won. So this story comes from the Old Testament. God's people were living in the Promised Land, led there first by Moses and then Joshua. But a long time after Joshua died, the people turned away from God and forgot all of his laws and rules. This gave them lots of problems, including their enemies attacking them. So God raised up new leaders called judges, and Gideon was one of God's judges. Now, I've got a few questions to see how much you can remember about the story. Are you ready? Who did the Israelites ask for help right at the start? Can you remember? Shout it out if you know it. The Israelites asked God for help. They suddenly remembered who they could turn to. Okay, question 2. What did God's angel call Gideon? The angel called Gideon a mighty warrior. And Gideon wasn't very happy with that, was he? Because he didn't think he was a mighty warrior, but God did. Next question. How many men did Gideon end up with in his army? Did you hear it in the story? Gideon had only 300 men to defeat thousands of Midianites. And last of all, how do we know that Gideon believed God? We know because Gideon did everything that God told him to. He told him how many men to have in his army, he told them how to fight, and Gideon did it, and God helped him to win, which is fantastic. So we know that God was with Gideon, helping his small army defeat the Midianites. There's no way that Gideon could have won on his own. It's just not possible. But he trusted God, and God was with him, and God helped him to win. And as Christians, we know that God is with us all the time, helping us too.
I've got a small piece of paper here and some bright coloured wax crayons. I'm going to colour all across my piece of paper with one of these bright colours. So once you've finished colouring your piece of paper with bright colours, you then need to get a really dark colour like a black and go over the top of it with your black colour. Just done a little bit of mine, but you can see the kind of thing you need to do. Trying to make sure that all of that bright colour is covered up. Okay? So God is with us all of the time, but we can't see him. Just like the bright colours under here, we can't see the bright colours there when we covered them over with black. But if I use something like a teaspoon, the end of a spoon, to scrape away at the black, it will uncover those bright colours underneath and we'll be able to see them. Let me just show you. You can see that I've scraped away at the black and you can see the bright colours and that heart shape showing through underneath. So God is with us all of the time, in the good times and the bad times. He's with us because he promised to be, because he loves us and he wants to be with us. Sometimes it can seem like God's not with us. It can seem like we can't see him, so he's not really there. But just like this picture here, where it seemed like the bright colours had gone, when we just scraped away a little bit, we could see that they were still there underneath. So this week, maybe you could do a picture like this to help to remind you that God is always there with us, even when we can't see him. Gideon believed that God would be with him, and he showed his belief by what he did. No one could possibly win such a huge battle with only 300 soldiers, yet they did win because God was with them. Gideon showed he trusted God by what he did. Here's your challenge this week. If you believe that God is with you, show it. Have a think about how you could show it in how you speak, how you act, how you do different things. Maybe it's as simple as saying thank you to God when something goes well. Maybe it's remembering to pray before starting something and asking God to help you. If it's hard to choose a challenge, maybe think about it the other way. What would you need to change if you could see God next to you all the time? Try it this week and remember to pray and ask God for help. See you next week.